Ronaldo Nazario dropped a statement that not only shook the eternal Messi versus Cristiano debate, but also left a question hanging in the air. Can someone truly be the best without having reached football's ultimate glory? Picture this. You're in a bar, surrounded by jerseys, flags, and endless discussions that have become part of the decor. Suddenly someone stands up and says, without hesitation, that Cristiano Ronaldo can never be the greatest of all time. Not because of his goals, not because of his titles, but because of something deeper. Because he never won the World Cup. And this isn't just anyone saying it. It's Ronaldo Nazario. Yes, the phenomenon. The man who knows what it feels like to lift that trophy and feel the entire planet looking at you as if you were a football god. His words were as sharp as they were precise. A player who hasn't played in a World Cup final, who hasn't been world champion with his country, who hasn't scored or assisted in the qualifiers, will never be the best. Messi is better than Ronaldo, and he's a world champion. Do you realize the weight of those words? It's not just an opinion, it's a verdict. And what's even more fascinating is that he wasn't talking about himself. He was talking about Messi. He placed him at the very top. And he did it right when Cristiano, in an interview with Piers Morgan, said that winning the World Cup wasn't a dream for him, that he didn't see it as essential, that it didn't define who was the greatest. Coincidence? Hard to believe. Because if there's one thing about this debate, it's that it never dies. It reinvents itself. It flares up with every statement, every gesture, every silence. And this time, the spark came from Brazil, but the fire spread across the world. Because when Ronaldo Nazario speaks, football listens. And when he mentions Messi, the echo reaches all the way to Qatar, where Leo became world champion, closing a circle that once seemed impossible. Now, what's behind that statement? Is it just admiration? Is it a way of ending the debate once and for all? Or is it an elegant provocation, a way of saying to Cristiano that no matter how many goals, trophies, or records he collects, there's a peak he hasn't reached? Because if we're talking numbers, both are in another galaxy. But if we're talking history, legacy, that moment that defines a career, Messi has something Cristiano doesn't. And that, according to Ronaldo, changes everything. For years, football fans were split. Those who saw in Cristiano the perfect athlete, the relentless competitor, the iron leader, and those who saw in Messi the natural genius, the quiet artist, the one who makes the impossible look easy. But now, with this statement, the debate takes a different direction. It's no longer about style. It's about conquests, about feats, about being there, in the place where the eternal pages of football are written. And here's the curious part. Cristiano didn't stay silent. In that same interview with Piers Morgan, he made it clear that he doesn't believe Messi is better than him, that the World Cup defines nothing, that 6 or 7 matches can't determine who is the greatest of all time. But isn't that precisely what makes the World Cup so special? That pressure, that intensity, that all or nothing, the very thing that turns greats into legends? Here's where the story gets deeper. Because we're not just talking about football anymore. We're talking about how greatness is built. Is it enough to dominate for years? Or do you need that one unique, unrepeatable moment that puts you at the top of the world? Ronaldo Nazario lived it. Messi too. Cristiano? Not yet. And that leads to an unavoidable reflection. What weighs more on history's scale? Consistency or climax? Record or memory? Because Messi, with his World Cup, didn't just win a title, he won a narrative, an epic, a perfect ending. And that, in football, is priceless. If the World Cup is the climax, then what Messi did in Qatar was more than a coronation. It was a work of art in real time. Because it wasn't just about winning, it was about how he won, how he led, how he turned every match into a cinematic scene. From the penalty against Saudi Arabia to the goal in the final against France, every step was part of a story that felt written by destiny. And that, in football, can't be bought, can't be trained. It's lived. Cristiano, for his part, lived a different kind of story. One of perseverance, boundless ambition, records that seemed impossible, but also one missing that final chapter everyone waits for. And that doesn't make him any less great. It makes him different. It turns him into the symbol of another era, another kind of idol, one who doesn't need the World Cup to be revered, but who still carries the absence of that moment that defines immortals. And here's something few mention. The World Cup doesn't just measure talent, it measures connection with the people, with the jersey, with history. In Qatar, Messi didn't just play to win. He played to heal a wound, to reconcile with a part of Argentina that had doubted him, to show that when football is played with heart, it can heal. And that makes him more than a champion. It makes him a symbol. And Ronaldo Nazario? He knows it. Because he lived it. Because in 2002, when Brazil lifted the cup, he also closed his own circle. After injuries, criticism, and doubt, he came back and became the hero. That's why his statement isn't just a comparison, it's a confession. He's saying, I know what that moment means. And Messi had it. Cristiano didn't. But careful, this reflection isn't about tearing Cristiano down. It's about understanding what it truly means to be the best. And here we step into philosophical territory. Is the best the one who wins the most? The one who moves people the most? The one who leaves the deepest mark? Because if we're talking global impact, Cristiano's there. Longevity, also him. But if we're talking about that instant that defines an era, Messi has the picture. The hug with Di Maria, the kiss on the trophy, the roar of millions who had waited since Mexico '86. And that brings another question. How many great players never won the World Cup? Many, Cruyff, Di Stefano, George Best, but all carry that yes, but that shows up in every cafe discussion. That yes, but he didn't win the World Cup. And that, however unfair, matters. Because football is emotion, it's storytelling, it's myth. And the World Cup is the altar where myths are crowned. So what do we do with Ronaldo's words? Do we use them to close the debate or to open a new one? Maybe the true value of his statement isn't in comparing, but in inviting us to think, to ask ourselves what we really seek in an idol. Do we want perfection? Titles? Moments that make us cry? Messi gave us those. Cristiano did too, but different ones. And that's what makes this debate eternal. Because there's not just one way to be the best. There are paths, there are styles, there are stories, and each has its own magic. Now it's your turn. Do you think the World Cup is the factor that defines greatness? Or do you believe there are other paths to the summit? Leave your comment, subscribe if you love football as much as we do, and stay tuned, because what's coming will keep shaking this eternal debate.